to the Soul Fire podcast, where healing is raw, truth is sacred, and your story gets to burn and rebuild in the same breath. I'm Power Coach Alicia, pattern breaker, soul mirror, fire starter, and the unapologetic voice of the burn it down and rise anyways revolution. We don't fluff your wounds, we don't filter your truth, and we don't water down healing so that people stay comfortable. You've spent way too damn long proving your worth to people who only love the version of you that stayed small, quiet, and convenient. If you've ever swallowed your truth to keep the peace, shrunk yourself to stay chosen, or disappeared in your life, this season isn't just a reset or another motivational podcast. This is where you reclaim your voice, your fire, and your fucking self. I'll give you the truth that heals, frameworks that hold, and soul codes that will change how you live, lead, love, and rise. Lovey, come forward. It's time for you to embody your wholeness. And I'm not only leading this season, I'm living it right beside you. Let's fucking go. So when I got out of the shower today, I was thinking about your input equals your output, and your output equals your input. And it's not directly the same, but I don't feel that anybody is really thinking about this. And so what I wanted to bring to you today is this shift. And if it's kind of loud in the background, it's because I am driving to an event. You're going to hear my blinker, but I got the GPS off. I wanted to get this out, and I've decided that when I record the podcast, it needs to be in moments where I have these sparks of inspiration, of, motivation, of my personal power that I really want to share with you. And I love sharing on the podcast from my experiences, my life, my perspectives, and just fucking riffing off of that. So sit down, relax, and enjoy. And if you're driving or cleaning or whatever, just know this is going to be a power-packed episode, no matter how long it ends up being. So let's first talk about your input equals your output. So I've always talked about this throughout my coaching career and being a business coach and a soul healer. And, good in, good out. What you put in your mind comes out of your mouth. What you put in your mind comes out in your actions. What you put in your mind rotates through your mind and your thoughts. What you put in your mind manifests in your success. What you put in your mind manifests in your relationships, right? So I've always been a huge proponent of this and something that I've always shared, right? So the good in, good out, the input equals output makes sense. So what I want to do with this, though, is I want to dive this a little bit deeper. And this has been talked about before. It's not like it's some fucking new concept that I'm, pioneering, but I want to bring it to you from my perspective with my power and, how it really hit me. So I'm in the shower today and I'm thinking about input equals output. That was the only thing I was thinking about at first. And I had this thought that, I'm going to stop watching Sister Wives, even though I just barely started rewatching it again yesterday. I'm also going to put a pause on Sullivan's Crossing. And then I had this thought, well, what are you going to watch then? And the reason why I wanted to put, a stop to Sister Wives and a pause to Sullivan's Crossing is because it's all drama, right? It's, cycles of people's lives and their bullshit and what they're going through and all of the stuff as it pertains to Sister Wives. And Sullivan's Crossing is a lot the same, and these, drama type shows are a lot the same like that. And the reason why I wanted to stop that is because drama on the outside equals drama on the inside, which equals drama coming out of me, right? So if my input are these dramatic shows and these lives and, all of this turbulence and disconnection and contention and resentment and resistance, and I'm putting that into my mind by watching it, then I am putting into my subconscious mind as I am taking in these relationships and these transformation of these relationships and the conflict in these relationships, I'm putting that into my subconscious mind. So once that's put into my subconscious mind, then I am spending time with my partner and he says or does something that is already there from the drama that I've watched. And so my response to that is like the response to the show, right? It's like the response to the energy of the show, even if it's not my true response, my true feelings. And also, the show can trigger sorry if that's loud and annoying in the background. I don't know if I can stop that sound from happening quite yet. They're doing a crazy amount of construction, and oh my God, it has been a nightmare in the town that I live in. So, okay, hopefully that wasn't too distracting in the background and I can, edit that out with my awesome software. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So, it can trigger things from your past, things you've been through in the past, things that you've went through, things you've healed through. Hear me, things you've healed through, things you fucking healed through. So you're watching the show, it goes into your subconscious, and then you are triggered by your partner into into that subconscious that's there, right? And it brings up something for you from your past that you've healed through, not avoided, not stuffed down, not shoved down, not decided you're done with, not decided that it's not part of your life, not decided that it's over, but something that you've healed through. And it brings it back like it is an active trauma, demon, wound, pain, burden, right? And now it's a present part of the relationship. So that's one side. But the other side to this is when you're watching that, it goes into your subconscious, and then something happens with your partner and it triggers something that was never yours, ever. Because you got wrapped up into this show emotionally invested in the characters, and you really, rallying for the characters, and you're frustrated about this and you're frustrated about that and what happened there and who did what to who and all of the things. And it's in your subconscious. And so your partner will trigger that in you because it's embedded in you like it's yours. Your subconscious doesn't know whether it's yours or whether it's someone else's. And so now it's embedded in there, it's triggered, and now you're operating and responding to your partner from a perspective of something that is not yours, but you think it is, you feel like it is, you're living from the perspective it is, you're responding like it is. And when you were watching that show or listening to the music, we'll talk about, other things that do this in a minute, but I want to stick with the show. When you are inputting these sort of things into you, you don't know that they're not yours. And also when you're watching the show, you're thinking about how you would respond. You're thinking about what you would say. You're thinking about, fuck this dude, I can't believe he's like that. Oh my God, she needs to leave him. Oh my God, I would love to have a relationship like that. Oh my God, this is so beautiful. Oh my God, it's so romantic. Da 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 da. Your mind is thinking about all of these things and attaching and detaching and responding and feeling. Your nervous system is firing like fucking crazy. Your emotional regulation is off the charts, but you don't realize it because you think you're just watching something for entertainment. You think you're just watching a fucking show. Now think about this when it's music and the lyrics of the music, which, by the way, if you really want to circumvent this, listen to Sanskrit, listen to the beautiful chorus, listen to Sleeping at Last, listen to things that are bringing harmony and peace and alignment and love and light and personal power and empowerment to your fucking nervous system. All right, digressing from that. So think about music, all right? But now think about the people that you listen to, the advice you take, the coaches you hire, right? Think about the podcasts you listen to, the books that you read. All of these things are implanting things into your subconscious mind that, especially if it's like romance novels or advice about your relationship, or you're giving advice about someone else's relationship, all of these things, if you're listening to self-care, self-help, self-worth, self-esteem type stuff, pay attention or getting advice from that. If it is bad advice, if it's coming from an energy source that they haven't done the work that they need to do themselves, and those sorts of things, you are setting yourself up for a fucking disaster. And you don't even realize it because these things are planting into your subconscious mind. And then life being lifey and people being peoply are activating these things in you that are 90% never yours, never were, not But because you watched it, because you took it in, because you connected to it, because you emotionally and energetically and your feelings attached to it, then someone or something triggers that. And you come from the perspective that it was your own and it never was. But you don't know that it never was because you're not paying attention to this. You're not paying attention to your input. So that is your input equals your output. Now let's look at your output equals your input. And I want to talk about this from a completely different perspective. So now we're talking about energy, right? The energy that you have to give. If you have 100% battery, what percent do you wake up with? Now, this does connect to your input equals your output, but we're going to come from a different perspective. So in the morning, do you wake up every day with 100% energy? Do you wake up just fucking rocking it, ready to go? You're 100% every day? Most days, chronically, you wake up at 50% or less. So you're not even waking up with 100% energy, right? And so you are operating at 50% energy. By the time you get up, get showered, get your day started, do what you need to do to get the fuck out the door, that 50% energy is more than likely down to, 35 to 40%. Okay, well, on a phone, power saving mode is 20%. For me, my power saving mode is 32%. So let's say in this example, I wake up with 50% energy, do all that output to get going for the day. And by the time I fucking start my day, get out the door, whatever it is, I'm at 35%. That means I have 3 fucking percent energy for the entire rest of the 8, 10, 12 hour day before I'm back into myself, right? Same thing for you.
Listen, Queen, if this episode lights something up, don't just sit with it. Come rise with us. The Soulfire podcast is your weekly reminder that healing isn't about fixing who you are. It's about remembering who the fuck you've always been. And if you're craving more than just words, if you want community, authentic power, momentum, and soul transformation, then I want you to come join us in the free Star-Guided Soul Healing community. This isn't another group. It's a vortex of women who are done pretending, who are reclaiming their power, their voice, and their divine assignment, and who know they were never meant to do this alone. Inside, we speak truth. We rise with soul-coded frameworks like Rise Times 3 and AUA, plus your own soul-coded values. We break patterns, we burn illusions, and we build empires because we rise. So come be witnessed, come be held, come be at home. Check out the link in the show notes. And please remember to subscribe, share, and send this podcast to a queen who's ready to rise. Now, back to the fire.
So now, though, we're talking about our output equaling our input. So we are at 35% energy level. If you are following my protocol and my rule of thumb and what I teach in the Queendom, and that is a 32% is power saving mode, not 20%. You only got 3 fucking percent. Did I say 5 earlier? You only have 3% to give. Your output equals your input. So if you only have 3% to give, you have got to be very, very, very mindful, aware, and attentive to what you're giving that 3% to, number one. But number two, you've got to be looking at what input can you give to yourself while you're on your drive to work, or while you're on your drive to wherever the fuck you're going, or before, if you work at home, have your own business, whatever it is, what input you need to do for yourself before you can go and give that output. So if you're on your drive, that input needs to be highly powerful. It has to be something that charges your battery. It can't be a podcast about murdering or whatever the fuck it is, because that is implanting seeds into your subconscious mind that are later going to be triggered by people, circumstances, and things that you're going to respond as if it was yours, but it wasn't. It was just planted from the input that you did. So when I talk about your input, it's like, what's empowering? I love Motiversity on YouTube. I love the beautiful chorus, right? Listening to that. I love Sanskrit. It's a peaceful power, not an energy infused power. And a peaceful power will be way more powerful than a power that's like a supercharge, right? you'll understand what I mean as you step into this. Like, meditation is a peaceful power. Hypnotherapy is a peaceful power. Red light therapy is a peaceful power, right? But supercharge could be working out or being around people that you really enjoy and different things like that, right? Those are output in people you enjoy, and dancing, working out, things like that are an output input, right? But what I'm talking about here is you only have 3% energy charge for what your output is. So your very next action has to be an input that charges you in a peaceful way so that it's sustainable. That's how I want to say it. Peaceful energy is a longer sustain, like eating a protein bar. And a supercharged energy is like the sugar, right? Okay. So with that being said, you have to give yourself an input that's going to give you a peaceful charge for it to be sustainable for you to make it through the day. But here's the challenge. You're not paying attention to this. You're not paying attention to your input equals your output equals your input. You're not looking at any of these things. You're just going through the fucking day, just goddamn full steam ahead into everything. And I call it full steam ahead into a fucking brick wall, but you don't see it. You think it's everything and everyone else. You think it's life being lifey and people being peoply, but what it is your output equals your input. So you have to pay attention to how much output you have, so you know how much you need to input into yourself. But you also have to be paying attention to the input you put into yourself that's planting those seeds so that you aren't depleting the output that you have to fucking give. And it's this cycle that happens over and over and over and over again. So that leaves you with, multiple things going on. How the fuck do I do this? How do I get this under control? How do I actually know what's going to give me that sustainable energy from the input that I'm giving to myself when I realize what my output level is? How do I wake up in the morning with more energy and charge to give to the world? Damn it, that just cracked my windshield. Ugh. God, I hate life. Being lifey. Okay. Like literally actively telling this fucking story as this semi flips a rock and hits my goddamn window. Oh my God. You guys, see, this is what I'm talking about. So let's actually use that. That was perfect. Thank you, universe, for an instant lesson in this. So this is a spider crack. It's going to be all the way across my windshield, and you're talking about a $600 windshield replacement from this right fucking now, right? Luckily, we're in the month of September, and I get a new car in April. So if I can stop this, I don't have to pay for the windshield. But let me talk about what that did. So I'm in the middle of my sentence. It's like, God, I hate life. Being lifey, right? Make sure you add that because I absolutely love life. So now we've got this crack in the windshield. The second I could see this rock flying, hitting the windshield as I'm saying this, right? As soon as it hit, my nervous system dropped. Boom, right down into my stomach. It was like a fucking knot in the pit of my stomach. Instantly, right? In that moment, how much percent of my energy do you think was drained from that rock hitting the windshield, me realizing it's $600, being irritated about the semi, while trying to talk to you, remembering to say, I don't hate life. My actual full sentence was hating life being lifey, but I stopped there because I'm thinking about that. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. How much energy do you think that fucking rock hitting my window right then just drained? 7 to 10% minimum. So let's say 10%, because I don't like to do ranges, all right? So let's say it drained 10% minimum. Now, the reason why I say for me 7 to 10%, it was probably more like 7% for me, because one, I'm teaching and talking right now, and one, I'm on an energy frequency in this conversation right now. So I say that it hit me at 7% because literally that's life being lifey. That's literally nothing I can do about it right now. Now, I know we've got some shit at home I could put on it. It's going to stop the spider crack, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Whatever, I'm going to get a new car in just a few months. So the goal is to keep it to where I could still see through my windshield and the this and the that, right? So my brain processed all of that in that moment so that it didn't go from 7% to 10% to 30% to 50% to like draining all of my energy because now a $600 fucking windshield happened on my way to an event. Where if I would have just stayed home, this $600 wouldn't be a thing, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? We call that compound stress versus legitimate stress. Go back here in the podcast and check out compound versus legitimate stress, and you're going to learn all about that and what that does. I teach that all the time, so I learned to stop it in its tracks. It doesn't mean that it didn't hit me at the 7%. It doesn't mean that it wasn't going to increase to the 10 if I didn't catch it. Because if I didn't catch it, it doesn't matter that I teach this. It would go to 10 and it would go to 20. It would go up. But literally that's outside of my circle of control. There was nothing that I could have done. I didn't know that the fucking semi didn't have its mud flaps on. I didn't know that it was going to hit my windshield. I didn't know that that was going to happen. Right? And maybe if I wasn't recording and I remembered that you could check the license plate and then call and say they flipped a rock, I don't even know if they'll do anything, whatever. I actually think my insurance has rock chip repair. So see, as I'm talking through this, it's like, because I didn't allow it to what I call throttle my energy, and it just is what the fuck it is. And you know what? Maybe by the time I get home, it's already going to be spread. Who fucking knows? But there's nothing I could do about it. It is what it is. The only thing I have control over is what I allow it to do inside of me, how I allow it to throttle my nervous system, cause compound stress, and go into fucking up my whole entire rest of my day over a fucking rock chip, right? So that is something external that would hit it changes my output that I have to give. So it took me down 7%. Well, before I got in the car and on my way here, before I hit record, I was probably somewhere around 40%. So if it took me down to 7% or down 7%, now I'm at 33, right? But I love recording podcasts. So I was at 40% before I started this, but it increased in there somewhere. So by time that rock chip got to the point where it was going to hit my windshield, I was probably closer to 40% because I love recording podcasts. I love sharing this information with you. I love helping you heal your soul. I love helping shift your perspective. So we can say I'm right around 42% at this rate, right? I'm driving, I'm talking, I'm exerting energy, and then we've got the rock chip. So we're, 40%, let's say. Now, I know I'm 40% going into an event with people. Now, at this event, I am a guest, not the one hosting it. So now I got to pay attention. I'm at 40% and I have 8% output to give. I'm going to exit this podcast episode, right? End it. And when I end it, I'm going to listen to the rest of the beautiful chorus. My GPS says I have 13 minutes to get there. By the time I end this podcast, maybe I have about 10 more minutes. So by the time I'm listening to the beautiful chorus, I'm going to get, more centered. I maybe get, 3 to 5% more charge. When I walk into this room, I'm at 45%. That gives me, when I get there, I'm at 45%. And so that gives me 13% before power saving mode. But I am on crutches right now, rehabilitating my arthritic knee. And so that's going to take roughly 5% from me, from the door to getting to where the people are. So by time I walk in, I'm at 40%, which means I have 8% to give for the time that I'm there. So what I'm going to do is pay attention to my energy. Well, what fills me up? Being in a room, being authentically myself, showing up as who the fuck I am, adding value to the room that is there, and not giving a fuck whether or not people think about what they think about me, and allowing them to decide and, make their decision, whatever it is, on their own, but also knowing that I'm a fucking badass, and I add value to every fucking room that I walk into, and so this is going to charge me the fuck up. Because I'm going to go in and do and be who the fuck I am and in a way that feels good. And see, when I share that with you, that bumps up my energy. So that's already going to increase me by the time I get to destination, being at 47% or 48%, or maybe even 50%, because I'm thinking about when I walk into this room, I'm in my element. I'm in my power. And this room that I'm walking into, the host feels that I am a bright light. Well, she's right, and I already know that. So she's just validating what I know. She's not giving me something I need. Pay attention to that. That could be a whole other podcast episode, right? Validating what you know about yourself and people giving you what you need are two different things. So anyways, oh God, I don't even know if I just went the right way. Welcome to my world. I don't think that I did. That's okay. That's why there's millions of roads, right? I am paying attention to my driving, just so you know. However, I wasn't paying attention to what road I'm on. I never go this way. Anyways, coming back to you. So with that, Input equals output. Input are your seeds to what comes out of you, but also your input is what's sitting there to be activated. And it's either going to be activated positively or activated negatively. Oh, look at that. It cut down the time to my destination by taking the wrong way. Boom. Universe always has your back. Always say this. The universe always has my back, and everything is always working out for the highest good of my soul and all, right? That's not really my fucking thing, but you'll probably hear it somewhere on the podcast. Oh, it is. The universe brought me here, so the universe will see me through, because the universe has my back, and everything always works out for myself and the highest good of all. Okay, so input are your seeds. And then the external world are the activation of those seeds. If your input is drama and horror and murder and violence and like bullshit, right? Or taking in news and what's going on and all the things, right? You've got shootings and murders happen that are unjust. And if you are taking in all of this information, again, those are seeds. But also these things can activate the seeds that you've already planted inside of you, depending on what you have been inputting, right? Your output equaling your input is the energy that you have to give for what you're doing, where you're going, and, you know, how you're getting there, the journey, and how much it takes from you in order to do that. So your output is going to be your indicator of your input of what you need to give to yourself to charge your energy. So in this instance, it does relate to the input that's planting seeds, but it's shifting that input, right? If you are drained and you are in power saving mode because of your output, and you choose input like drama, sister wives, reality TV, blah, da, 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 it is going to drain your energy. It is not going to charge you up. It is not going to charge you up. It's going to take away from what you have to give to yourself and to give to life. This is why it is so important that when you feel depleted or you feel like you don't have the energy, that you don't just collapse into bed and veg out in front of the TV. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying binge watching a show or whatever is a bad thing. What I'm saying is, be very mindful of why you're binge watching that. What is your energy level? What has already been your input of power? And then what is your output level at? If you are at power saving mode and you turn on that shit, I promise you, someone or something is going to trigger one of those seeds. It's going to activate it. And something that you watched is now going to be your reality, but it is not going to be true for you. Or it's going to trigger something that you've healed, or it's going to trigger something you haven't healed. And that is going to cause walls to go up, ruptures to happen, collapses to come, and then you end up running away from love, fucking scorched earth on the person that you love more than anything, because your partner is the person closest to you. And then you're going to have to come back from that, reconnect with them, forgive yourself, do all of this work because you weren't fucking paying attention to the seeds that were implanted in you that could be activated at any time by the open world, people, circumstances, and things. And because you weren't paying attention to what level of output you have to give and what you are taking and giving to yourself that your soul needs to charge you the fuck up. So with that being said, like I said, it leaves so like, how do I do this? How do I get it under control? What are my actions that I'm taking? How do I know that, you know, the actions that are best for me for supercharging and sustainable energy? How do I make this a consistent habit? How do I do this without it being a ton of work? You know, that's the work we do here in the Queendom and all of my different programs. So for now though, in the show notes is a link to an exhale call. And on this call, my only intention is to give you some more breath in your soul and just to help you exhale a little bit more, just like you have on this podcast episode. Give you some exhale within you so that you can find that space within you for your personal power. Okay, there's nothing to sell on this call. So click the link and book it. You absolutely have nothing to lose but 20 minutes of your time. And I promise you it will be valuable and it will be worth it. And you will be so grateful that you did. And if no one has told you today, remember, you are worth it. You're always fucking worth it.
Embody this. Choose yourself so completely that nobody gets to question your worth again. Extend to your soul the same mercy you once gave away to people who fucking dropped it. And stop shrinking to be chosen by people who can't even hold you. You're not a placeholder, you're the fucking revolution. So show up, speak up, and burn the damn box. I'm Power Coach Alicia, and this is your invitation to rise.